that's what our goal was, to create solution-based instrumentation to make your life more easier, predictable, and the practice more efficient.
We've been misled to believe that dentistry, more specifically the dental business, has to be complicated. Dentistry can be simple, and dentistry should be simple. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode and another week of the Dentistry Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarun Agarwal, and this week I have an amazing guest on who I like to describe as having the best hair in dental instruments, and that's Hasib Sajid from TBS Instruments. Hasib, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
How is the hair doing, dude?
It's really spot on even right now. That's my trademark, so
What
can't
are you
complain.
going to do if you
All good.
start losing hair? That's what I worry about people when they make their trademark their hair.
I think my genetics are pretty strong. Let's not jinx that.
Well,
I think it's good.
you can always go back to the homeland and get some plugs put in if you needed to.
That's true.
For those of you
Yeah.
that are intrigued to see Hasib's hair, all you have to do is go on our YouTube channel for 3D Dentists, and you can watch this episode on YouTube and many other things that we put out on YouTube as well. And while we're talking about that, if you could do me a favor, we want to grow our reach on the podcast. So if you could share the podcast, if you could leave us a review, if you subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to, that would really help us out tremendously. And I would be greatly appreciative of that. So now let's get directly into this week's episode. Hasib is with a company called TBS Instruments, and they are one of our premier partners at 3D Dentists. And Hasib has been amazing for us to work with. And what I love about TBS Instruments is the goal that Hasib has is to find solutions to problems in dentistry. Instead of it being a 100-year-old company that's done it this way and continued to do it the old classical way, they've created innovative product, innovative solutions and packaging, and they want to help us dentists get better. So Hasib, why don't we start with kind of giving our listeners kind of a brief overview of your history of TBS Instruments, how you got into this, and kind of what drives you guys.
Awesome. Yep. So my dad started the company in 1992, manufacturing regular private label instrumentation in Mexico, and started a line with that. I graduated in 2012 from New York and got in the family business in 2016. And I asked him a simple question about what is unique about us, what makes us different. And his answer was really nothing. And that's kind of where we went on the trajectory of developing innovative solutions, innovative products, and it just happened to be with a very simple idea, something that was that only a non-dentist could think about, was adding a spring in a forceps, and it was a little cool thing to be like, hey, let's put a spring in it where it's auto retractable, and when in the market. We initially had only 4 products. I didn't know anything about dental, anything about extraction forceps or anything about extractions. And then that's how the line grew. And from there, I traveled the whole country and one doctor, one office at a time, built a network of KOL, met you in 2019, and really opened our eyes to be like, how can we bring efficiency to a world that has been stagnant for more than 70 years? Today, Frank's forceps are one of the best-selling forceps in the market. We have about 23% market share in forceps category, and with our again, I think what we're talking about is how can we make things easy and simple and more predictable, and that's when we went on a journey with you with 3D surgical kit and having everything, because I still remember meeting you at your office in the back, and you were giving a lecture and stuff, and that's how we kind of started. And you're like, well, look, I mean, I have so many things over here, opening bags, pouches, and everything. I want to make things simple.
Yeah.
I want to develop something that we could that a doctor can do 80% of surgical procedures with one setup, which was a big challenge, because you go to offices, you open drawers and drawers, there's instruments and surgical instruments that have been sitting there forever. But we really set out on something special, and we really dominated that category.
Yeah. So
Today, TBS today TBS has been, we're on a cover of a couple magazines, top solutions provider with healthcare outlook, and just doing things different. And with having a partner like Patterson as well, really helped us get the word out and push the product as we wanted to do.
Yeah. So let's talk real quick because I want people to understand that I don't have TBS on here to do an ad. That's not the goal. The goal is for us to help you as the individual dentist do better
Right.
dentistry, be more efficient, have better outcomes for your patients. And so it started with a couple of things for me, going back to 2019. The frustration had been going on for many years before that. My frustration was that what my team members would keep asking me, what do you need for this surgical procedure, this one? I'm like, why do you guys keep asking me? I'm like, I need the same things every single time. And then so we got to the point where I'd finally started developing a rotation of instruments that we would use for all of our cases. And then the challenge started coming in that that it wasn't easy for my team because they didn't fit into a cassette. So then what they would have to do is they would know all the instruments, and they'd go get 5 bags, and they'd open up 5 bags and put all this stuff on the table. And it wasn't a great experience for the team, and then it wasn't a great experience for me to see all of it being that way. So the challenge I wanted to solve was, how can we get all of this stuff in one spot? How can we get it to where we can do 80 to 90% of all of our surgical procedures by literally saying, I'm doing something surgical. You get this one cassette, you pick it up, you put it down, and this will cover 80 to 90% of all the surgical procedures that we can do. So that was the premise. The secondary premise to it, and Hasib always fails to mention this one, I don't know why, was the secondary premise was I needed it to be affordable. I wanted it to be something that was of
Yeah.
great value to the dentist, because it's very easy to create all these instruments, but then when you start getting into $4,000 or $5,000 of instruments for for a surgery, that becomes hard to swallow. And then the problem that led to was that we couldn't do back-to-back surgeries in our practice because I would need all these instruments, and it's $4,000 or $5,000, and I didn't want to spend $4,000 or $5,000 again to get a secondary instrument line. And so it's created this cascade of events that hopefully, as you guys listen to me talk about this, you're realizing that this is happening in your practice as well. And then the last part of it was surgery has changed from 25 years ago, from 50 years ago. A surgical procedure used to be ripping out teeth. That's what we did in surgical procedures. Now it's so much more. It's bone reduction. It could be atraumatic extraction. It could be socket cleansing. It could be PRP, PRF. There's so much that goes into a surgical procedure. It could be bone grafting. And so to me, I want to have all this instrumentation in one spot. So I challenged Hasib with this, and I didn't expect him to come back and say yes. And then so we developed this, the 3D surgical kit. So Hasib, walk us through kind of the development process for our surgical kit.
Yep. So I think what we had when we met was little things that were a la carte, little tweaks of instrumentation and things like that. And that's what caught your eye, be it a mold with holes to do suction on top. Not be the best thing that I loved was that you never used a Castro before.
No, I didn't.
That was the
They were too
that was the
expensive.
first time. I know, but then we kind of change your mindset on it, and it's actually very funny to see that 90% of dentists around the country have never used a Castro before. So it was a challenging aspect of it, and we set out to kind of introduce that line as well of Castro, but like little tweaks on instrumentation, be it you adding a 3 millimeter elevator in there, which was a universal elevator, and honestly, we don't sell any other elevators. It's what you get in the 3D kit is what you get. And I think with doctors, the more options you have, as you said, it just confuses your staff. It just slows you down. With the solution that we had with was like, okay, we want to have two forceps, simple 150 151, so we put those rings in there. Then we had a rondure in there, universal elevator, one college pliers, which we call the peri forceps to handle membrane, straight Alvatome, Castro scissors, Castro needle driver, and then one of the instruments that became a huge success, and we kind of when you told me, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to
So
be a
in other
big
words,
deal or
I
not.
was
But
right, you were wrong.
on that, yes.
Yes.
It was your 3D modified Explorer. So the one with the longer hook on it, and it's the most economical instrument in the kit, but it became a huge hit. It became a huge hit that people loved it.
So real quick, I want to kind of give people an idea is the challenge I was facing because this speaks to companies that I want to work with and companies that our profession needs. We've got to support companies that bring us solutions. And it's not like you were the first person I went to. I went to other companies as well. I went to one of the larger companies and I got laughed at, but that's not unusual either. But the challenge I was facing was as I started doing more implant work, as I got into screw retained implants, we have to put Teflon in these instead, or cotton or
Right.
Teflon, hopefully, in them. And so I was using all these Explorers, and all my Explorers were getting bent or whatever. And I was like, I was buying Explorers out the wazoo. And I was like, if we could have an Explorer that was somewhat sharp, but yet more durable and a wider hook area so I could get it down 5, 6, 7 millimeters down a implant chimney, that would be an explorer that would actually make a difference in implant dentistry. And so that again, having somebody, and I got to say thank you, having somebody that was willing to make said instrument, of course by laughing at me a little bit, but that's okay. But having to make said instrument has really made things easier for us in the practice and made life easier for me. So thank you for that. So I'll let you keep going.
No, and I think what we take pride in, and T-Bone, you're right, is that we're very lucky to work with clinicians like you because all our products are designed by dentists for dentists. The frustrations that you are experiencing, most of the doctors around the country are experiencing, but no one is really doing anything about it. And that's what our goal was, to create solution-based instrumentation to make your life more easier, predictable, and the practice more efficient. And we talk about the 3D Explorer, but then there was something else as well. A boozer, putting a simple boozer elevator in there was like, to create the initial reflection of the tissue and cut the papilla, it also became a huge success with it. And then having just one straight alvatome in there, it just became a really great solution that doctors love it, of having it every time the same predictable instrumentation on the cassette. And you'll be surprised at how many offices do not use cassettes. They still bag and pouch that. And the amount of time that is lost in that is something that we made really predictable.
And then there's a risk. You risk your team members getting cut. Your instruments rub against each other and
Absolutely.
they lose the sharpness. And we know in surgical dentistry, maybe it doesn't matter so much with forceps, but when you're laying flaps, when you're doing those things, the
Yes.
sharpness of your periosteal, your buser, all of that stuff matters to get good, clean surgical sites.
Absolutely. And that was a process. And I think one of the things that we that you were impressed right away was how fast we went to market with it and the development
Well,
time and stuff. And
it could have been much faster, Hasib. Let's not lie to everybody, okay?
well, it was a couple of months. We developed it in a couple of months, and I think the we were still a very young company at that time, but now the process of it has been evolved a lot. Of the designing phase of the technology that we have to ourselves, of having everything more like a 3D designs of all the instrumentation, getting it approved by the clinicians, then going in prototyping stage, then doing a pre-production run, and now then fully going into production. But at that time, it was like, as I said, we had a lot of stuff that was a la carte, and we sat together. We asked, and I love the fact that we asked the why about every instrument,
Yeah.
because we were limited with space. We only wanted to have 19 instruments in the kit that would fit perfectly in it, and we were constrained by the size of the kit as well, that it should be able to fit in all the autoclaves, most of the autoclaves in the market. So having that 19 instruments, and every instrument has a why, is there to solve a problem, is there to make your life easier, was something that was really fantastic to make it different. And as we at TBS, we say we don't have 50 different SKUs. We have very limited SKUs because every SKU has a why to it. And 3D Kit became such a big hit because it was one solution of having everything in one place at the right time, at the right place. We stole your line on that. So
I trademarked that, just so you know. My lawyers are gonna send you some information. But you're lucky
no,
news. I'm not willing to pay the lawyers, so they probably won't send the letter.
no, the good part is that we are working together, so I can
Yeah.
get away with it. Uh, so, but that was something having it. Your line was right tools to do the right job at the
Right
right
time.
time.
Yeah.
And you always said that, and that was something special. And I also want to mention the little root
Yeah.
tip pick that we developed. And it became such a huge hit too. We didn't have anything like that before, but having a very simple root tip pick in a kit that you want to use once, because no one ever breaks root tips. It never
No,
happens.
of course
But
not.
just in case now it does, we have something that we can go to reduce our frustration of having the right tools at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, I think everybody. Well, number one, my kids would appreciate it if you supported me. I make like I think $15 on each kit they buy, so that would be helpful to buy some ice cream money or some. These days, that's like barely a sandwich at the burger place. I can't believe burgers have become $15 to $20. But you can get the 3D kit. It's exclusively distributed by Patterson. Is that correct, Hasib?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so you could talk to your Patterson rep to see the 3D dentist surgical kit from TBS Instruments. You deserve to at least see it, compare it, see what it's like, and then I would love it if you would buy one so I could buy a hamburger for my kids. That would be fantastic, and that way Hasib can
Or
afford his future hair plugs, so he can maintain that amazing. Yeah, I'm convinced, Hasib, that you have this hair to make yourself about 4 inches taller. There used to be this Kid and Play. In fact, I think they had a commercial in the Super Bowl last night. Kid and Play used to have this hair that was really high, so it made him taller. I'm pretty sure that you're just a short person that looks taller because you have hair about like almost like Marge Simpson, 6 inches higher than you really are.
hey, I gotta take advantage of wherever I can.
I get it. I
So
get it. All right.
What I want to, sorry, T, what I want to add to this is during the pandemic, we learned something really huge. Now we're doing Zoom calls.
Yeah.
So if someone is interested in taking a look at the 3D kit, we have something that we can send to them. They can take a look at it. My team can get on a Zoom call with them and walk them through with every instrument and show them the why of the instrument in the kit. So that's something, and they can reach out to their Patterson rep or reach us directly, and we'll set up something with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's on the 3D kit. Now, you had mentioned that your company has grown, you've matured, you've learned a lot in the last 4 or 5 years of being actively involved with me at least, and then you've been involved in the company for 7 or 8 years, and then obviously your company's been around longer than that. But that brings me to another challenge we have in dentistry, and that's the sharpness of hygiene instruments. And so, talk to us about how you guys are now working to transform hygiene instruments.
Yeah, awesome. We just launched a line called Res Sharp, resiliently sharp line of scalers and curettes. This is something that has been again out for more than 200 years, and there was one predominant player in the market, and no one really challenged them. So it took us about 3 years to understand the manufacturing of it, and it is something that is very, very tricky and very hard to have every time a predictable blade that stays sharper longer, because I love sharpening, said no hygienist ever. So if we can give them an edge that holds its edge for a longer time, a scaler that holds its edge for a longer time, we're solving a problem. And at TBS, we're solving problems every day. So we went to the same company, Ketra, which is a company based out of UK. They did the testing with another company 10 years ago, which revolutionized the sharpness of the handle of the edge. And it took us about 2 years to get to the level. Now we're importing our steel from Italy. We're cryogenically treating the steel. We have semi-autonomous fixtures to be able to do things at a more predictable speed and get a more predictable result on it. And again, the biggest thing with Res Sharp is that we have a very limited SKU line. We do not have 500, 600 different varieties of scalers. We have a very small, about like 22 scalers that we have that is mostly 80% of the market. And then also what we wanted to do is, again, I came in this country as an immigrant and I wanted to give back. So we partner with Wounded Warrior Project, and it is something that is very special to us and to us at TBS and to me. So every scalar, Res Sharp scalar we sell, we donate 2% of proceeds to Wounded Warrior Project and helping the families of those who keep us safe. Something that was always on my horizon, and we finally were able to achieve that with Wounded Warrior Project. We became their corporate partner, and we committed them a large amount of royalties that we want to give back to that community. So that's something that is very good. We just launched the line a month ago, and the success on that has been really tremendous with our partner that is Patterson Dental. And going out and showing that, and then we revolutionized the handle. So the handle that we came out with was a twist handle. And again, we want to disrupt the market. Sometimes we are lucky with that. Sometimes we fail at that. But it's a twist handle that is basically takes the shape of your fingers, and every company in the world has a handle that is more cylindrical. This has a nice twist in it that allows you to follow the contour of your fingers, and when you're walking the tooth with it, it's really ergonomic. So something that is cool, that is fun, and we call our Lady Liberty blue color something that is different. Hygiene is again purple, but our color is more like a turquoise color. We call it the Liberty blue color, which is pretty cool. And a lot of times you'll see that every hygienist is very different. It is a very tough market to break into, and they love colors. So what we did with our scalers was, you'll see every hygienist has a color coded rings or something that they like their colors, right? So our silicones are interchangeable, so you can mix and match 6 different variety of colors, 6 variations into it, that you can change the silicone color. Someone likes red, someone likes yellow, so they are able to do that. Again, that solves a problem, just like our forceps that are labeled with teeth numbers.
Yeah, I find that I find that pretty funny, but that's not my personality, right? And so we have to respect that. And I didn't know about the Wounded Warrior Project. That's amazing. I think you guys need to do a better job of letting people know that you're supporting that, because as dentists, uh, we want to support our veterans and our warriors that make this an amazing country, so that people like me and you want
Yeah.
to come to this country. So that's awesome. So what else is on the horizon for you guys? So let me hold on one second. So if somebody wants to try the Res Sharp instruments, let's talk about pricing real quick. Are you significantly more expensive, in line, a little bit less? I mean, does all of this come at, hey, it's a bigger cost to the customer for all your instruments?
No, and that's something that I think, as you say, I always fail to mention that, but that is a thing, because when we set out for our kit, you wanted to make it very affordable, and with us being the manufacturer of the product, there was no middleman involved, so we can make our products very affordable. Our Res Sharp scalers as well are very a lot. I would say like 20% less in retail price when compared to our biggest competitor, and it's a better product, and it's like in line on average selling price of the market, what that is. But then you always have promos and things like that on scalar side. But if someone wants to try the scalers, they can buy them from Patterson. We have a one-time promo that is very aggressive, so they can try that, because they have to use it to be able to feel the difference of it, or they can have their Patterson rep show them the demo. Almost all the Patterson reps have a demo of the Red Sharp scalers.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so what's next for you, Hasib, and TBS Instruments? So now that we've talked about the 3D kit, we've talked about the Res Sharp, we've given people hopefully some intrigue about doing something. And listen, I think it's very easy for us to forget about the importance of instruments. But I remember my oral surgeon was always on me about having quality instruments, because it is what we use on a day in, day out basis. And it's what helps us get results. Just like when we use, like I like to use disposable burrs, so I always have a sharp burr every time I'm working. I like to have good quality instruments. I like them to be packaged nicely so that it's super easy to set up. And I like to have everything there so that I don't have to unglove and go, or somebody doesn't have to unglove and go there. So what's next for TBS Instruments
Well, there's a lot of things that are coming in the
that you
next
want to share?
yeah, well, there's a lot of things that are coming in the next coming months, which I can't disclose a lot, but everything that we will do will solve a problem. Everything that we are working on has a why to it, and be it surgery, I think is the fastest growing market, so we are working on a couple other things as well. But I think of course, preventive we got into. We're working on restorative things as well. We're working on some regen products as well that we're introducing in the market, some products that have been very successful in other markets, and bringing those to the US market as well, and just giving a more bigger portfolio of solution based products to the industry, because our industry, I feel like you guys touch technology so many times, but as you said, right tools to do the right job at the right time just makes your life easier and more efficient, and not just you efficient, but the practice more
Yeah.
efficient.
And my team has loved having cassettes. My team has loved making it easy to set up. To give everybody an idea, essentially we have four setups in our practice. We have an exam setup for a limited exam. We have a surgical setup. We have a hygiene setup, and we have a restorative setup. So no matter how complex of a restorative case I'm doing, we have one setup. And I keep working with Hasib to develop. We have this 3D instrument surgical kit. I want to develop the 3D hygiene kit. I want to develop the 3D restorative kit. So that way you guys can have the instruments that we're using in our practice that are time tested, that can be used the majority of the time to take care of 80 to 90% of our work. That's my goal. My goal is to help the individual dentist be more efficient and use quality products. So hopefully we can help everybody with that. So again, I would love your support because I can buy a hamburger with each surgical kit that you buy.
Or two Starbucks coffees now.
Well, I don't drink coffee because I don't want to get addicted to that. I should stop eating hamburgers so I don't get addicted to that either. But you can reach out to Patterson or you can reach out to Hasib. Hasib, how do people? That's the other thing I like. You can actually talk to the CEO of the company. Hasib, how do people get in touch with you?
It's pretty simple. Just go to our website, tbsdental.com. You can send us an email there, or you can call our office number, 201-743-3090. Or that best and the easiest way is to just let your Patterson rep know.
Can they contact and
Our
ask to speak to you? Because I want them to call and speak to you, Hasib.
you could just email me directly at hasib@tbsdental.com.
There we go. HASEEB at tbsdental.com. Listen, man, my people want to talk directly. They don't want to
Yeah,
deal with lots of
yeah.
stuff. And so if you have questions, comments, concerns, you have your own ideas, reach out to Hasib. He's fantastic. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week and for all your support and everything we do at 3D Dentists and we do here on the podcast. So we have an amazing announcement coming in the next month of how we can try to create more community and get together more often so that we can fulfill our mandate, which is to help the individual dentist succeed at 3D Dentists. So we'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Dentistry Made Simple podcast.